Hello and welcome to the Supplier Spotlight Podcast. My name, as you know, is Liam Ball. I'm your magical wedding host, also known as the Gentleman Magician. And as I've said before, this podcast exists to shine a light on the very best people in the wedding industry, the suppliers who bring calm, quality and professionalism to one of the most important days of a couple's life. Now, before we begin, if you are enjoying these conversations, please do like, follow, subscribe, share, and tell people about the podcast, especially anybody who's currently planning a wedding. It genuinely helps couples to find the right people and helps the podcast to reach those who need it. Now, today's guest is a wedding videographer, somebody who's tasked with not just capturing how a wedding looks, but how it moves, how it sounds, and how it felt on the day when you were there. From fleeting glances and emotional vows to speeches, laughter, and the atmosphere of the day, this videographer is known for creating films that feel natural, cinematic, and timeless. His work is exceptional, and it's earned him industry recognition, also being named the Essex Wedding Awards winner of 2026, a testament to consistency, quality, and trust from couples and peers alike. So it's an absolute pleasure to welcome to the Supplier Spotlight Podcast, Alex Moore from Wedding Video Essex. Oh, Alex, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you? That was a lovely introduction. So yeah, thank you very much for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, no, it's all one of the great things about doing this podcast is it's always good to kind of sit down and look at people's websites, check them out on socials. Especially like people we've met where you kind of got a feel of what kind of person they are. It's a really nice thing to do, and then sort of write something which really kind of delivers a concept of what sort of thing it is. So yeah, no, thanks. That's really nice. So I'll tell you what, as we've done that, let's start at the beginning. How did you get into videography, and when did weddings become the focus of what it was that you were doing?
That's a great question, and one that I actually think about quite a lot. So videography for me was something that I always loved. Even when I was at school, I was really lucky to go to a media school growing up. So I got the opportunity to get in a TV studio and get the vibe of what it felt like to be in film. And then from there, I bought a camera, started doing some filming, and got the opportunity to film a family member's wedding. And that was the start, basically. It was, they weren't going to have it filmed. It wasn't such a big thing kind of 11, 12 years ago to have the big day filmed. Filmed it, loved it, and was like, oh, this could be a job. And here we are, 11 years later, still doing it, still loving it.
So how old were you at that point?
Well, I would have been, 19, 20. So I'm 31 now.
Oh gosh, right, okay. So basically still in college, thinking this is great, I'm going to give it a crack. And of course, a perfect blank canvas to start with, where it wasn't something they were going to have done, maybe just a bit of an opportunity for you to kind of figure out how it would have felt, right?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. And that was, I suppose, there was less pressure, less, worry or concern. Is it going to be right for them? Because it was a family member that wasn't considering it. So getting the opportunity to, learn the ropes, and you learn pretty quickly in the early days of being a videographer what you should do, and what to avoid, of course. So it was a great experience, and one that essentially set me up for the rest of my career up to now.
Yeah, that's amazing. What was your kind of focus on that day? Was it just a case of I'm going to go along and see what I can do, or had you already gotten to the point where you were starting to make plans about what you were thinking of doing?
I'll be honest, in terms of the wedding side of things, it wasn't something that I had considered much before then. Videography was something that was always something that I was really passionate about. Something I loved. I owned a camera. I was going out filming different events, all for free, all for exposure, as you do when you're young and you're learning in the industry. And then the opportunity came to, obviously, as I say, film a wedding, and it was one of my cousins. And that opportunity then started where we are now. And so I obviously, before the big day, as I'm sure anyone would that was doing something for the first time, went on YouTube and looked at some examples and looked at how other people do it. And yeah, that was it. I would love to say that there was some, you know, immense 4-week training plan before, but I went through to be ready for that first one. But because there was no expectation or you know, this not necessarily even the massive desire for the wedding video, I could just do what I wanted to do, and it worked out. But I mean, I actually watched it back not that long ago, and it's still a great video. It's still a great one.
What a fabulous opportunity. I mean, I do think, and I found myself saying this so often, right, that people who work in creative industries like photography, videography, magic, having that opportunity to just go out and give it a crack when the outcome might not be brilliant, but actually it doesn't really matter because there's nothing riding on it. I think that's really where some of the in a weird way, some of the best memories come from, isn't it? And some of the biggest learning points, because you're kind of free to make mistakes and then figure it out afterwards and still end up with something brilliant.
For sure, 100%, and we still use that process in, you know, in the business now. If we're trying something new or looking at a different avenue, you know, obviously we've in recent years, in the last few years, added photography into the packages that we offer, along with highlight films, which is more kind of like a scaled back version of video. And with all of the new things that we've introduced, and the video messages guest book as well, we've always done exactly that, gone back to the kind of the way that, you know, it all starts by trialing it out, offering it out, see, you know, if it's something that is good, and then crafting it and then making it part of what we do, making it part of our products and services that we offer once we've done that testing phase and we know that it's something that, you know, is good and couples love.
That's brilliant. I mean, I think probably something that I often find, because I'm speaking to couples a lot about, you know, what are you doing on your wedding day, and of course everybody says, well, of course we've got a photographer, but so many people, you know, so you're having a very think, oh, we don't know, we're not sure, and it's almost like sometimes people get photography straight away, right? Everybody knows that having a wedding photo album is a must. Why do you think it takes people longer to click onto the concept of then having a video as well?
I think for the same reason why there's a lot of other things that are more of they're being more of like a luxury, would be nice to have. You're totally right in what you say. A photographer is something that has been a staple in a wedding day for, you know, years, like beyond probably both of our lifetimes. But video is slowly now becoming something that is more of a staple.
Yeah.
So I suppose the answer to the question is maybe twofold. So why is it not a staple, and why should it be, is maybe two different questions there. So I'll answer why should it be, I think anyway, in my opinion. And actually I was relaying this story literally about 45 minutes ago. I was on a call with a lovely bride talking about photography and videography. And she said that she wasn't particularly keen on having a wedding video, and spoke to a few people that maybe said they hadn't watched theirs that often. And the story that I gave, this is a 100% true story. So I obviously got the cousin that I filmed their wedding about 11 or 12 years ago. Well, my auntie got married about 6 or 7 years ago, and told me that she didn't want a wedding video. She absolutely did not want one. And obviously, you know, I said, I think you should. You know, I'm going to do it at, you know, cost. Basically, it's not going to cost you much, because it's my auntie. Of course, you know, it's the right thing to do. And she said, I don't think I'm going to watch it. I don't think I'm going to sit down and watch it. And you know, it's just not worth having. I'd rather you just come to the day and enjoy it as a guest rather than have to work. Which obviously, you know, lovely sentiment, of course. So I don't hold that against her. However, every family event that I've seen her at since her wedding 5 or 6 years ago, she's said to me, I really regret not having my wedding filmed. And for me, that is something that I keep all the time in my mind, because if that's someone that had a fantastic opportunity, obviously, for it to be essentially free, and missed out on it, like, I want to make sure that no one misses out on it. So it's that level of, you know, what about if you do regret it afterwards? There's nothing that you can do. You can't go back and have it filmed. You know, there's only one opportunity for it to be captured right. And Yeah, and obviously, everyone has their own opinion whether or not they would or wouldn't watch it. But I know from the 700 odd couples that we've filmed their weddings to date, the time capsule that's created by that film, the people that are in that room, all the people that are, the closest family and friends, the people that you love the most, they're not all in our lives forever, and that's just the unfortunate way that life is. So having that time capsule, having that memory all in that film is amazing, and photographs, of course, do some way of that job, but they're a one frame, they're one moment. Whereas with the video, you get to see the laughter, the smiling, the tears, maybe some happy tears, of course, but the moments as they're happening in real life, and you get to see and watch them back. Sorry, I went a bit long on that answer there, Liam.
No,
I wanted to make sure I got the story out because it's a good one.
I think that's great, though, isn't it? I think there's probably some huge points there, but the first is that there are some things in life that you just can't repeat, right? And a wedding day is one of them. Like, there's no rehearsal. And I mean, obviously, like in American weddings, they have a rehearsal dinner, right? But actually, it's just a dinner the night before the wedding. There's no rehearsal. You can't rehearse a wedding or a wedding day. It's a one shot, one of one. You're never going to get a chance to do it again. So I mean, I get it, but then of course having the opportunity to sit back and look at it, and I mean, I think there's a concept to the fact that when it comes down to looking back at memories of a wedding, sure, great photos are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting, right? But as you say, it's a snapshot of one moment to the next. Whereas you might end up with 15 photos that were all taken during a drinks reception and be like, yeah, there's that person and they look great. But you've then got the video where you're kind of sweeping around and seeing people, and you get much more feeling of the atmosphere and the ambience and the scenery, and it's more than is just in that little tiny frame, isn't it, really?
And you make a fantastic point there. And I obviously there isn't a rehearsal, but you can, I suppose, in certain elements of it, you know, rehearse how you're going to walk down the aisle, and how you're going to do that. And there's a little elements of rehearsal, but one thing that you can't, and one memory that springs to my mind there was a wedding that we filmed last year, I believe. It was a couple called Ellie and Kurt, and Ellie was obviously the bride walking down the aisle, and Kurt was the groom that turned around to see his lovely bride walking down the aisle. But just before she walked down the aisle, there was, I believe it was his nieces from memory, but they walked down the aisle first. And whether he knew that they were going to or not, I'm not sure. I didn't actually ask, but his reaction to them in their dresses was a big, overwhelming emotion. And he's there's tears, and he's obviously, it was a big moment where he was, obviously feeling those feelings and those nerves and the anticipation. And obviously when she walked down the aisle, the reaction was even bigger. You can't rehearse that. That is a live moment. You can rehearse the fact that someone's going to walk down, but you can't rehearse the way that the reaction happens and the moments that are captured. And that is what, and of course, as I say, it does get captured in photography, but in the video, you also get to really see that moment as it played out in real life.
Like the full range of emotions on somebody's face. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And you get to see the nerves, the anticipation turn into pure happiness in emotion, and the moment of tears of happiness, and everything that comes along with it. And then of course you get to see Ellie's reaction to Kurt's reaction of her, and then brings its own reaction. So you get to see all of that play out in real time, very much as you do in a Netflix film.
Yeah, I suppose as well on the converse of that, you also get to capture all the impromptu comedy moments that come up that just in no way can you capture in a photograph, right? I mean, I went out to a wedding, I think it was last year sometime, and the bride, I think all brides look stunning on their wedding day. It's just, they all do, right? And the bride got to the end of the aisle, and she walked halfway down the aisle, and the groom was just kind of stood there. And she went, "Oi, are you going to turn around and look at me or what?" And the whole room just kind of broke apart laughing. And it was one of those things that, like, sure, you could get photos of that moment, but there is no way that a photograph will convey what actually happened in a moment like that. And I think that's I think probably one of the things about videos that really makes it stand out, isn't it?
100%. And do you know what audio is? The kind of the secret of videography. It's something that no videographers, including ourselves, talk about that much. But actually, it doesn't matter how good the footage is. The audio is such an important part of the capture. And yeah, the point that you made there, that reaction of the bride with, when the groom was there, that we've seen similar to, maybe not those exact words, but a message conveyed in a similar way.
Yeah.
And so many other examples like that. And the speeches, the ceremony, they're really important parts to audio capture. And that audio capture is what makes the storytelling in the video so incredible. And that's what gets you that result that we were talking about beforehand. But also, very rightly, as you say, there's, especially in modern day weddings, there's lots of, kind of additional things that you could have in a wedding day. And so many of them are so brilliantly captured through video, whether it be singing waiters, a host like yourself, a singer, a performer, a band. Maybe 20, 30 years ago wouldn't be as big of a thing as they are now. But capturing those moments, the party, the atmosphere, the vibes that are created by all of those things.
Yeah.
That, again, you get to really experience that through videography and through the film that you get.
Yeah, that's right. And I think also as well, when you're working with people like that, you're also in a much better, because sure, when it comes down to, the bride walking down the aisle and the ceremony and the vows, that's probably just something that you're doing by rote. Yeah, I need a camera here, go there, we're going to look at it there, they're going to be there. We know what the angles are going to be. But then it's probably like when you've got the more impromptu moments, when it's out of that, you're thinking, oh gosh, I hope I capture all these lovely, I don't know, like what B-roll moments or things that are going to be like highlights in the video, and you probably get some real gems just by kind of being on a pivot with this camera. And then of course you've got people, as you say, like, singing waiters, hosts, magicians, who are able to say to you, hey, if you stand right there, you'll get the best reaction and the best view of everything that's going to happen, which of course then, means that people are capturing all of the things that they've built into their wedding day experience as well.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? That's one of the hardest things when we take on new team and bringing new people into our team. One of the hardest things is actually not learning how to operate a camera or how to use a microphone, or even placement during those big moments like ceremony and speeches. It's about those moments that happen when no one's expecting it. And we go back to that earlier story of Ellie and Kurt. If that wasn't kind of acting on quickly, getting that reaction of that moment, that beautiful moment of just raw emotion could have been lost forever. But it's about you mentioned candid moments of things just happening throughout the wedding day, which is some of my favorite shots are in those kind of times. It's about just being there and figuring out what's happening at what point, and almost kind of using a crystal ball to predict the future, but without having the crystal ball or the ability to predict the future, but just being able to figure out what's going to happen when. That's a really, that and audio are things that often you don't think about when you're booking a wedding film, but they are the two biggest things, I would say anyway, in being a good wedding videographer, is mastering audio and making sure that you've got that for your storytelling, but being so ready for any moments that just happen as they happen. Because if you capture a moment as it happens in a real moment, that is, a memory forever.
Yeah, fabulous. Do you know something that's striking me, right, as I'm listening to this, and that I can only imagine as a videographer, this is probably something that you've heard more often than I think is comfortable, right? Because I get it, you're about a host, so we don't need a host. Who's going to run the day? Oh, the venue will do that. It's like, no, they won't. No, they won't do that. There's got to be people, I'm thinking right now, who are listening to this, who at the start of this podcast thought, but I don't need a videographer today. Everybody's got a video camera in their pocket on a mobile phone, right? And I can absolutely attest to somebody who takes as many photos as I can when I'm working. And I've just recently invested in a very basic camera, like a point and shoot camera, but a really decent sort of Fujifilm camera just to get good photos and good little sort of snippets of video for bits and bobs when I'm out myself. And suddenly the difference in quality is immense, isn't it? And of course, there's no way, like, you might have 100 people at a wedding with a mobile phone, but there's no way you're ever going to get all those videos together to get them edited and put together to make a video that reflects your day. And I think immediately one of the things that comes out of this conversation for me is how actually crucially important wedding video not is becoming to be, but already is for a wedding in 2026.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, I'm a little bit biased, so I do, of course, agree with you that I think a wedding video is massively important, and to be fair, has been, the whole time, but is now maybe getting its right place in the market. There were so many interesting points that you said in there, and there's just a few that I'd love to jump in on. Number one is the quality. Obviously, I totally agree that a phone held vertically and a videographer are vastly different things, and I feel like although the quality is massively different, actually the thing that makes the big difference is not necessarily the quality of the iPhone in comparison to the quality of the camera. It's all of those other things put together that make that video so amazing. So the quality is obviously an important part of it, of course. But that aside, I actually believe that the editing, the storytelling within the editing, the audio capture, and the moment capture are the three pillars that are way more important than just the quality in terms of what makes that difference between a guest member with an iPhone in comparison to a videographer that is, knows what they're doing and has done it and knows how to get the good audio, how to do the storytelling in the edit, and how to, be in the moments that haven't happened yet, but know that they're about to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that just that on its own, like, I believe that, and I actually do want to test this at some point, but I believe that as a team, we could probably film a really good wedding film on iPhones if we were still allowed to use the team, of course, to capture the moments at the time that we know are going to happen or predict them, the storytelling and the editing in the way that we do it, and the audio capture in the way that we do that. I actually think we probably could. Obviously, there'd be a quality difference. But for me, it's more about those three things than just the kind of the iPhone versus camera comparison. Although obviously is a valid one at that. And there's so many other little things that I could say alongside those three big things, but they are for me the main ones that are so important when looking at. And it's also, obviously content creators, again, an amazing thing in the industry. I'm glad that we've got that because it gives us a great behind the scenes look of the day. There's, you've got your TikTok trends, you've got your Instagram reels that's perfect for, that maybe a videographer isn't quite as perfect for.
Yeah.
I see that question online all the time. What's the difference between a content creator and a videographer? And that is essentially what I've just answered there is essentially the same answer for that as well. They're a completely different thing. It's like saying what's between a photographer and a videographer, or what's between a host and a magic host. Well, there's quite a big difference, or a host and a coordinator from a venue. There's big differences. And yeah, that is one way that I would describe the differences between those two things.
I think that's fascinating and a really good point, actually, because of course, it is 2026 and content creators are super important as well. But yeah, I mean, you're never going to get a film of your wedding from somebody who's capturing content, because that's simply not their job, which is fabulous. So for anybody who's listening now, how would you describe your filming styles, especially to people who've never booked a videographer before?
That is a good question. So, I would say our style is a combination of cinematic and documentary. So in the kind of videography world of weddings, there's kind of two main styles. There's very documentary style and there's very cinematic style. And I'd say we're a perfect hybrid of those two styles. On the day, we are all about capturing moments as they happen. So we want to be there. We want to be unobtrusive, just documenting the candid, natural, authentic, and just those real beautiful moments as they happen, as they're happening in real life, capturing them to keep forever. When it comes to the edit, that's when we unlock the cinematic side, and it's all about putting that film together in a way that tells the story authentically for the day, not just a cut and paste timeline that we use for every single wedding, but one that is unique to that wedding, that tells the story of that couple and of that day. And that for us is where we get that kind of hybrid from the documentary style on the day, just documenting what's happening, to the cinematic side that tells the story. So it's like you're watching your own Netflix film of your wedding day.
So how do you balance getting all of the footage that you want and all of the moments that are going to make a great film? Because like there's a sixth sense there, right? Where you're like, I need to be here because this is something's going to happen and it's going to be awesome and I need to get that. And how do you balance doing all of that so that you've got all the footage that you need to make an awesome, as you say, Netflix style documentary stroke Hollywood movie of somebody's wedding, and at the same time be completely unobtrusive, like you're not there?
That I would love to know the answer to. I genuinely would love to know the answer to that. And
Yeah.
It's just a process over 11 years. And maybe not, we've been doing this style of the way that we do it for the last 5 or 6 consistently. So maybe the first 5 or 6 years built us into, where we are today. But it's just being present on the day. So being a nice, friendly person, someone that people want to talk to, whether that's the guest or the couple, family members, whatever it may be, but just not like being in the way and being over present or controlling of the day, because that's what other people are there for. That's what the coordinator from the venue is there for. That's what you would be there for if you were hosting. There's people that are there to coordinate and manage the day. We're just there to, from a little bit of a distance, not the car park, but a little bit of a distance, capture what's happening. And that, for me, that is just done through experience. So I would love to be able to give you, honestly, Liam, I would, a complete blueprint of how to do it. But it's kind of just a process that's been developed over years and years and years.
Yeah.
And it's got almost like a little bit of a secret sauce, if you will, like that's just been developed over time to get to where we are now. So there's not any specific like key things that I can say, don't do this or do this, but I suppose maybe it's just, to narrow it down, it's about being present on the day and aware of what's going on, but without controlling or taking over. That for me is what we do. That's how we achieve what we achieve, and
that's how you get the best results.
100%. And it was actually through reviews and through speaking to our couples after they've had us there on the day, and then obviously once they've seen their films, hearing that feedback of, I didn't even realize you were there. And that doesn't seem like a compliment to most people, and for you it would probably be a massive massive downside if they said that in a review. Were you even there? Yeah. But for us, it's a massive compliment, because if we can capture this film, create a story, and really bring them back to that moment every time they watch it. But I didn't realize that we were there with a camera. That's like, the perfect scenario.
Fantastic. So what kind of moments then would you say that most come up on a wedding day that couples forget you're going to be there filming, but then when you get it and you put it in, they are just the most grateful that you then were there? What are those little moments? Because there must be some of those.
There's so many. Do you know what? There was one quite recently that we had. A couple came in to do a video review for us, and we love doing them because it gives us a real insight into exploring what their journey was like, and ultimately making any changes to our journey, for future couples, if there is anything that we need to change or optimize. And anyway, they came in, Bex and Dan, they were in a few weeks ago. And there was 2 moments that stood out for them, because I actually asked them this question, and I loved both of the answers that they gave me, and they were completely different from each other. One was more of a sentimental, one was a funny one. The first one was Dan the groom, and can I just also say that before the wedding, he wasn't that bothered about a videographer. That obviously dramatically changed after he saw it. But the first moment was his mum was, sadly no longer with us. And there was a really important piece of jewellery that his sister delivered to him on the day, and it was obviously quite an emotional moment. Now, during that moment, it's him and his sister handing over the jewellery. It was, quite an emotional, well, a very emotional moment for the both of them. And I actually was personally the one that filmed that moment. And he said to me, well, when I was watching back the film, I don't know how you filmed that moment, because we were in a really small room and there was a lot of people and it was chaos in that room. And to be fair to him, it was quite chaotic. But you filmed that moment like it was exactly as it was, without anyone getting in the way, without anything going on. It was just, all I felt was that moment. How did you do that? And I was just like, I just saw it happen. I saw her walking over and thought, there's going to be something that happens here, and captured it. And I didn't have any idea that that piece of jewellery was going to get handed over. It was just being there, being observant of what's going on and capturing that moment. So that's one. But then his other one, and actually both him and Bex, his now wife, both said this one. And I'll try and use the terminology right to not get them in trouble. But they had some family members that maybe aren't the most fun, should we say, or fun-loving people. Yeah. And there was 3 or 4 shots that made it into the film of these people having an amazing time, smiling, laughing, partying and dancing, which they never expected to be able to see. And they didn't see those moments on the date. That would have been where, during the drinks reception, where maybe they were having some photos, maybe they were, speaking to other guests. They didn't see that happen in real life. So without that video, they never would have known that happened. Yeah. And so that, they're completely different moments, because one of them's more funny and like, oh my God, look, he does know how to smile, and have a good time. And one that's, a really emotional moment that is super important for different reasons. But both of those moments weren't known that they were being captured, but were captured and kept then forever. And I could reel off hundreds of different moments that
just like that one
that are like that, where I hear back from people, and some of them are a little bit more morbid, shall we say, when unfortunately people do pass away, and that memory of that person is captured in that moment at that time, all dressed up, suited and booted, looking great at the wedding day. Yeah, exactly. And that often, we had one really recently where a bride's mum had sadly passed away shortly after the wedding. And there's so many beautiful moments that we captured, and we were doing photo and video on that one. So we managed to capture so many beautiful photos, so many beautiful moments on video. And in the bride's words, that was the kind of one of the last times that she was obviously filmed and photographed. And so for us to have that honor of being able to do that and have that moment that they get to live back forever, but also to be trusted with that as well, is it's a huge not weight on our shoulders, because that makes it sound like it's a negative, but it's a huge thing that we don't take it lightly, basically, is what I'm saying.
It's a massive honor. And do you know what I mean? It's like it's really great to listen to all of these kind of little moments that come up, because of course all of these things and the approach of not only you, but all the people that work on your team and work alongside you, that view and that approach to those moments and to that outcome, from the first second somebody sort of drops you an email or messages you on Instagram or picks up the phone or sees you at a wedding fair, and they kind of start that process. I guess that nobody's really prepared for what's going to happen or come out on the other side, and for really what they're going to get, and the wealth of just wonderfulness that they're going to be left with as a result of that investment. And of course, all of that then goes towards the fact that this year you were named, was it the best videographer in the Essex Wedding Awards winner for 2026? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually picked up 3 awards, which is really exciting. We got the Videographer of the Year at the Essex Wedding Awards, the Hitched highest rated for 2026, and the Bride Book Platinum Award, which obviously, as I'm sure you know, but not everyone would know, the two platforms that I mentioned second in those were, massive wedding platforms that is, rated on user reviews and couple reviews. and all three of them, and obviously the big one out of the one and the one that you mentioned in the Essex Wedding Awards was a fantastic moment, and a great night celebrating with loads of supplier friends in the industry, but just as well, because you just said something fantastic there that I loved in the description. That's the bit that's hard for us to say, as in when it's to try and tell someone that they should have a wedding video is impossible because we don't know what those moments are going to be. But I can say, just say, obviously I know you're engaged, Liam. Just say I'm there filming your wedding in say 2 years' time. I can tell you 100% that I'm going to capture the ceremony. I'm going to capture the speeches. I'm going to capture some beautiful shots of you and your lovely other half. And I'm going to capture the first dance and the cake cutting. And I'm going to capture the guests. I can tell you that. And they're going to be on brilliant cameras that are high quality and it's going to look amazing. What I can't tell you is the moments that are going to be captured. I know I'm going to get them, but I don't know what those moments are going to be yet. And they're going to be what happens. If it is that you I'm not predicting anything here, Liam, but just say you turn around and see a lovely other half walking down the aisle, and maybe there's a little tear in your eye. I know that I'm going to be capturing that, and I'm going to get that, and I'm going to lock that moment in for you forever. Or there could be any other, like we've spoke, so many different moments that could happen on your wedding day, that I would make sure we're capturing, and that is through experience and prediction, essentially, and just figuring out what's happening at what point and being in the right place at the right time because you know where those moments are likely to happen. So I can tell you all the things that you will definitely get, but then I can also tell you that from experience and knowledge and filming so many weddings and capturing so many people's big days, that what you're going to get is someone that knows how to get those moments.
And so much more besides.
Yeah.
So what should couples be thinking about when they're looking at booking a videographer beyond, of course, check out Wedding Video Essex, Brooke Alex and his team?
Well, of course, that's the first thing. I would say number one, and this is the hardest thing as a videographer, is to make sure that you open your mind to videography and think about the different reasons why it could be a good thing as to the one reason why it isn't a good thing for them. We don't think we're going to watch it. We get the stats every year of our viewership from each of our galleries that we put online, each of our video galleries and photo ones indeed. And it ranges. Some of our couples will have watched it in the first year maybe 5 or 6 times. Some people, and I know exactly the person who it would be from memory, who's a massive fan of ours, and we also filmed her wedding, has watched it hundreds of times, watched her film hundreds of times, shown it to everyone that she knows, and everyone else has watched it as well. And whether it's 6 times or whether it's 400 times, the story is still going to be amazing. You're still going to get to go through those moments and kind of be part of it, and remember all of the stuff that happened on the big day and see things that you didn't even know happened on the big day. Is if you're then definitely wanting a wedding video, is how do you find the right person for you? And there are different styles and there are different ways that a film can be captured. And so there's not a right answer for everyone. The one thing I know is that the couples that come to us and work with us love the relaxed documentary style on the day, the way that we capture without them feeling like they're on camera, the way that we turn just ordinary people like me and you into the star in your own film on your wedding day without having to do anything other than just enjoy your wedding day. And couples that want a film that tells a story, there's lots of different types of films that you can get out in the kind of the wedding video market. But one that tells a story, not only tells a story, but tells a story of your day. That is a really important part, and that is unique, customized, and personalized to the two people that are starring in that story. And that is, I suppose, is where that journey. Once you've decided you want a videographer, that is the part where you're then figuring out what works best for you. And I know that for our couples, at least, that's what works best for them.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, yeah, there is just so much, isn't it? So, I mean, coming back to sort of circling back to yourself, then, I mean, 2026, it's just coming into February now, 3rd of February today. Gosh, goodness, the year's steaming on already. What's next for wedding? I mean, obviously some great wins in terms of awards and huge achievements there. So what's next for the business? Where are you setting your sights on what your next progression is going to be?
Well, 2025 was a really exciting year for us in the end of 2025 and beginning of 2026 because we've expanded our team out again. We've got now 6 of us all together, which is massively exciting for us. Bear in mind, it started all those years back, just me at a wedding, and we are here where we are now. And one of the people that is new in our team, at least, or welcomed into our family, is Andy from Chic Photography, who's been a friend of mine for the whole of my career as a videographer, and really adds and strengthens to our photography offering as well. So it's really exciting to have him as part of our family, our Wedding Video Essex family, but also being able to offer more in the photography side of things, and also just continually doing more and growing more and learning more. And that's something that we was talking as a team the other day, and one of the things that's really exciting about I think the wedding industry and what we do within the wedding industry is that every single video, every single photography wedding that we do, it just gets better and better and better, because we're just getting better at what we do. And every single wedding, we just optimize, we tweak, we learn from our couples. We ask them to come in and give us feedback and take all of that in and build something that is always that's set better than it was for the last one. And I think that is the way that we grow, and that is the way that we continue, optimizing and making it better. Bex and Dan came in, as I mentioned earlier on, just a couple of weeks ago, and they gave us some really important bits of information about a certain way that we deliver things that completely changed that moving forward. And it was only because we hadn't seen it from that side before.
Yeah.
And just something like that makes the process makes everything better for the next couple that comes along. And so that's really what we're focusing all of our kind of 2026 on, is obviously number one, capturing amazing weddings all year long and being at as many venues as possible and getting the name and the message out there, and obviously getting the message out there of why videography is so important, but also to just continually tweak and optimize to make sure that every single couple that comes through the door gets the best experience from us and the best film and photos ultimately.
That's absolutely fantastic. And you know what? I believe that you'll do it as well, because I think it's moments like that where you're just constantly looking to improve your service that really mean, you're probably going to be winning those awards for the next decade and more, and just really giving the absolute best service that you can. And that's fantastic. Well done, that man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cool. Right. Alex, it's been a real pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so very much. And yeah, we'll catch up soon. Take care.
Thank you so much.
And there you go, folks. Gosh, what a pleasurable chat that was. I can honestly say I didn't think that I could constantly be amazed by the people that we speak to on this podcast. I'm personally learning so much about what the wedding industry is and what it has to offer. And each of these suppliers is just an absolute goldmine of information, and definitely recommended. So if you are planning a wedding and you want a film that captures the atmosphere, the emotion, the story of the day, not just a highlight reel, I can obviously wholeheartedly recommend Alex from Wedding Video Essex, and I'm sure that you'll agree with me there. You can find his work on his website online at weddingvideo.co.uk, also on Instagram, Wedding Video Essex. Take some time to explore it and find out more about them and get in contact. He really, really is worth it. And again, to anybody who's listening or watching, thank you so much for spending your time with us. If you've enjoyed this episode or any others, please like, follow, subscribe, and share the podcast, especially with anybody you know who's planning a wedding. It does make a difference, and there's lots of really valuable information in these episodes. So I'm going to say for now, folks, thank you so much. Remember, do choose your suppliers wisely, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Supplier Spotlight Podcast. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.